Good morning, this is Rich Dawson from Pepperdine University with College Week Live. I'm beginning the presentation now. We're excited that you are online and you are participating. I'm here to answer your questions, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them in, and my colleagues at College Week Live will forward them on to me. It looks like I have several participants. And I don't know what time it is in your time zone, but I'm excited to be able to talk to you. It's 6 a.m. here in Pacific time zone. And so if you could just tell me where you are and what time zone you're in, I'd be happy to answer your questions. Thank you for participating in this College Week Live event. There are some slides here of Pepperdine. Pepperdine is located in Malibu, California. Malibu is a suburb of Los Angeles. Los Angeles, in my opinion, is the most dynamic city in the world, with a great mix of cultures and businesses and sports teams that are known worldwide. Last night, Kobe Bryant, for those of you in China, may be happy to know that Kobe came back after 8 months of rehab from tearing his Achilles tendon, and so he's participating back with the Lakers again. And so it's Kobe comes out and watches Pepperdine basketball games occasionally, and so it's nice to see him participating in college sports. Malibu is a small city of only 13,000 people. And we're about 20 minutes up the coast from Los Angeles, so it's easy to get into town for entertainment and for specialty foods. Basically, as you can see here in this picture, it's a beach community. These are some of our neighbors down by the beach, and then we're up on the bluffs above them. What you're looking at here is a picture of Seaver College on the low side here, and then up on the right are faculty condominiums. That's where my family and I live. And then the law school, and then over on the left are more student housing and family condominiums, and then our graduate schools of business, education psychology, and policy. This next slide shows our Stauffer Chapel. This was donated to us by Mrs. Helen Stauffer when we moved here in 1972. We have weddings here. Many people in the community around LA come here for weddings on weekends and on holiday times, and it's a great place for a wedding. My son was actually married here because he met someone at Pepperdine when they were undergraduate students, and they got married several years later, and it's a great venue for weddings. As you can see, the stained glass window back behind here is really gorgeous. I like showing students the different symbols that are hidden in this stained glass. When it was built in 1972, it was the largest piece of stained glass west of the Mississippi River in the United States. So it's a great place for just quiet meditation, or as you can see here, this is a group of students on Friday morning participating in a singing event. This is a typical residence hall. It shows two students who are studying. We have 2 students per residence hall room. We have space for about 65% of our students on campus. First and second year students are guaranteed housing. In fact, we require you to live on campus. We find that students earn better grades when they're on campus than when they're off, so we require it for the first 2 years, and then third and fourth year you can stay on campus or you can move off. A lot of students choose to move into Santa Monica or Beverly Hills or West LA because they want more entertainment options, and that's okay with us. The next slide shows that our Application deadline is just 4 weeks away, January the 5th. So if you're a grade 12 student or you've already finished your secondary education and you're interested in Pepperdine, that's the deadline for this year. The deadline for our January term, if you're interested in January 2015, would be October 15th. So we have 2 entry dates. Next slide shows 4 students in Machu Picchu in South America, in Peru. We have 6 study abroad programs, full-time, year-round study abroad programs. 4 in Europe, 1 in Latin America in Buenos Aires. And so these are the students from Buenos Aires who've taken a week off during our field trip, and they've hiked the Inca Road that goes to Machu Picchu in Peru. And they've taken a picture there, and that was sent back to Pepperdine. And we also have 1 in Shanghai. And in the summer, we have about 10 additional programs that faculty lead. So altogether, about 70% of our students study abroad before they graduate. We usually rank number 1 or number 2 in the country in the percentage of students who do a study abroad before they graduate. We really believe in international education. This next slide is a slide of students who are participating in our Step Forward Day. And the 3rd weekend of September, after school begins, our whole community goes out on buses, school buses all over Los Angeles, and we do cleanup projects, painting. And these are 2 students working at a school, and they're just getting the lunch area ready. And because we believe in volunteering, Mr. Pepperdine was a volunteer all his life, and so we encourage our students to get involved in our community, and so we do this big thing called Step Forward Day. You might be able to read on the red t-shirt on the right hand side, it says Step Forward Day on the back of her t-shirt. We play Division I athletics. Pepperdine can't do everything because we're a small school, just 3,000 students. But we do believe in whatever we do, we should do well. And so we play Division I in sports, and we've won 10 national championships. As you can see, the words behind this shortstop here show that several years ago our baseball team won the College World Series when we were national champions. But we've also won championships in men's and women's volleyball, in golf, in tennis, in water polo. And so I think there are only 14 universities in the entire United States that have won more championships in more sports. They've won more championships total, but a lot of times they're focused on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 sports. But since we've done it in 6 different sports, that's quite unusual for a small school. We believe in undergraduate research. Here are some students in a science lab doing some research with one of their professors. We were leader in undergraduate research. Our faculty do not teach graduate classes, and because of that, if they're going to do research, they use undergrads for the research. So we started off in the sciences, but now in all divisions of our undergraduate school, which is called Seaver College, faculty recruit students to do research, publish papers, attend conferences. In fact, they're very fond of going to conferences and having a student speak, and having some professor at another larger university come up and say, wow, your grad students are really good. And they go, you know, that was a junior or that was a sophomore. So if you're a good student, you'll have an opportunity of doing undergraduate research if you're a student at Seaver College of Pepperdine University. We call it Seaver College because she gave us a bunch of money a number of years ago. She had no children, and she found out what we were doing and provided us with a lot of scholarship funds. Many of our international students have a Seaver scholarship because we named some of our scholarships after her. So 2 of our 5 schools are named, 3 of our schools are not named yet. And so undergraduate school is Seaver College. Our school of business is a Grazie a Dio School of Business and Management. Then our policy and Ed Psych and law school still have some naming opportunities. This shows our facilities looking out to the south, maybe southeast a little bit. So that's Los Angeles International Airport over here, and that's Palos Verdes, that little kind of hill or mountain in the distance is the other side of Santa Monica Bay. That's the Palos Verdes Peninsula. And then you can see this is the soccer field and the track and the baseball and the water polo and swimming and tennis in the background. Here are ways that you can connect with us through different social media. Also, I think on this program will be my email address in case you want to write me after the presentation is over. One question that many students ask is, what kind of school are we? And I'm happy to talk about that. And specifically, they're asking about how religious are you? You may have seen in your research about Pepperdine that we are a faith-based school. Our athletic conference is an athletic conference of 10 faith-based schools. There are 7 Catholic schools in our athletic conference. And we're a Protestant school affiliated with the Churches of Christ. And then there's a Mormon school with Brigham Young University, and then there's a Methodist school that's just added new to our conference, and that's the University of Pacific. So we're all faith-based schools. All of them, none of us have football except for BYU, and they participate in football as an independent, but then all the rest of the sports, they participate with us. And so we like where we were placed. When Mr. Pepperdine began the school in 1937, many people encouraged him to make it a Bible college, and he said, no, I don't want it to be a Bible college. There are enough good Bible colleges around, and we don't need another Bible college. I don't want it to be 98% or 95% Christian, but I want it to be a place where people of all faiths can come. So we're about 50% evangelical Christians, and which is very similar to the population of the United States. Then we're about 40% of our students have some kind of faith, but maybe aren't as active in their faith. They maybe go to church twice a year, that kind of a faith. And that's pretty common in the United States as well. Then about 10% are people from other faiths. So we have everything from atheists to Zoroastrians here. About 2% Buddhist, 2% Jewish, 2% Islamic students, 2% Hindu, and so it's a nice mix on campus. So Mr. Pepperdine was rather conservative. He didn't want it to be a Bible college, but he didn't want it to be a place where there was no discussion about those important questions like who are we and where are we going and why we're here. And so he thought at the beginning that we shouldn't even have basic religion classes, but the faculty talked him into it. And so now we have 3 religion classes that are required for graduation. There's a history of Israel, a history of Christianity, and then a comparative religion class. They're all taught by PhD faculty, and they're taught in the context of the historical and the geographical areas around the Jewish faith and the Christian faith. So you'll learn a lot about Palestine. You'll learn a lot about Egypt and Turkey and Babylonia. So they're fabulous classes, and we really consider them to be part of the general education requirement. So you'll have 3 classes as a part of your Western heritage experience. So you'll study the Greeks and the Romans and the history of Europe and the history of the founding of the United States. And then you'll have 1 class in non-Western history. So you might study Africa, or you might study Asia, you might study Australasia. And we think that those 3 religion classes plus the 4 history classes give you a great foundation for being able to carry on a conversation with anyone, anywhere, anytime. We think the definition of an educated person is someone who knows something about everything. That's why you get the general arts curriculum, and then everything about something. That would be your major. So about half of your classes will be in the general studies, and about half of your classes would be in your major, whether that's econ or history or English or business or psychology or sports medicine or whatever it might be. Okay, here's a question about what are your most popular majors? Mr. Pepperdine was a businessman. He basically invented the auto parts industry in the United States. In 1908, he had an idea for helping people in his city, which was Kansas City, to get parts for their cars. The cars were just being invented and developed, especially by Henry Ford and Oldsmobile up in Detroit, but they didn't have places for you to get spare parts, like an extra tire or a horn or a steering gear or something like that. So he said, well, maybe if I just got those things and had them in my garage, I could sell them and people could fix their cars more quickly. And so he started that business, and then he franchised it, and it made him a lot of money. It was called the Western Auto Supply Stores. And so when he came to California later in life, and then people said, well, why don't you use your money to start a college? He started a college in the middle of the Depression in 1937, had the idea, and started the school in 6 months' time. And it was called Pepperdine College originally. And so we've always taught business because he was a businessman. So business is our most popular major. Psychology is the second most popular major in the social science area. Next would be sports medicine, and next would be econ, and then political science. So 3 of our top 5 majors are in the social science area. Communication is our second most popular division. We divide everything up into 7 different divisions. So business is the most popular division. Then comes the communication area, where advertising, public relations, journalism, broadcasting, those kinds of majors. Then social science is the 3rd largest division, and then the sciences would be the next largest division. Sports medicine and biology are the 2 most popular majors there, and then those majors in particular are really good preparation for the different kinds of medical colleges, like dentistry and veterinary science and physical therapy school, medical school, even chiropractic school. Each year we get between 85 and 92% of our students into different medical colleges, so we're pretty successful there. The national average is only 47%. And the reason for that is we have small classes. Our average class size is 19. Even in the laboratories, our faculty even teach the laboratories. So we think that's a unique feature. Here's another question. Is the TOEFL required? What's an ideal score range for admission? Okay, thank you. Odisi, is that where you pronounce your name? Odisi? If you attend a school where English is the medium of instruction, then we require either the SAT or the ACT. If you attend a national school where your national language is the medium of instruction, like Bahasa Indonesia or German or French or Mandarin or whatever, then we would not require the SAT or the ACT. We would just require the TOEFL or the IELTS or the PTE. The IELTS and the PTE are British English examinations, and so those may be more available to you if you're in the UK or in some of the other Commonwealth nations. But the TOEFL's probably offered in more locations around the world. Our average score on the TOEFL is 100 this year. Sometimes it's 99, sometimes it's 101. This year it was 100. Our minimum score is 80, but the average score is 100. So our students have pretty good English language ability when they arrive. The IELTS, our minimum score is a 6.5. And I'm sorry, I've got a little bit of allergy, so I'm having to scratch my eye here. Our minimum score for the SAT would be a 450 on the SAT critical reading, and if you score that, then you're not required to take the TOEFL. Or if you get a 25 on the English portion of the ACT, then we would not require the TOEFL or the IELTS. Here's a question from Simmy. Regarding additional forms in the Common App, I understand I have to print the final report and provide it to my school official responsible for mailing that document. So yes, if you can get your school counselor to complete that evaluation, then you can just put it in an envelope and send it to us. You can send it via Courier, or you can send it via regular post. Also, if you get your recommendations in sealed envelopes, have two different people do your recommendations. Excuse me, I'm going to take a drink of water. If you have the two faculty members, either faculty and a counselor or a coach, or maybe it's someone that you worked for, fill out the personal recommendation, and you can put all those in, get them in separate sealed envelopes, put them all together and pop them in the mail to us. That would be all right. You can do the same thing with your transcript. If your school is not very sophisticated in mailing those things, be sure it's an official copy of your school record. Put it in a sealed envelope with a stamp on the outside of it showing the school seal. Then you can mail that to us yourself. You can put all those things in one envelope and mail that to us. Another question from the same person, from Simmy. If you're involved in 12 courses, yes, we want to see the scores from all of them. We only use the academic courses for calculating your grade point average, or GPA. So whatever system you're in whichever country, we have books that help us evaluate the educational system of those various countries, and we'll knock out the non-academic courses like keyboarding or art or PE or things like that, and then we'll just calculate your equivalent GPA based on your academic subjects, and then we compare that GPA then to students from your country as well as students from other countries. The average GPA, academic subjects only, for the students who came this fall was a 3.70 on a 4-point scale, so that's like an A- average. So the kind of student we admitted this year was a pretty good student. That average was the same for the Americans this year. The average SAT on the critical reading and the math was 1280 this year, and that's the same as for the Americans. So the international students had equivalent GPA and SAT and ACT, as did the American students. So we had a very good pool of students from whom to choose our class. We had 1,200 international students apply for the fall this year, and 200 Americans abroad. So altogether, my office read 1,400 files. Then there were 9,000 Americans in the United States who applied to Pepperdine. So altogether, there were 10,400 students for us to read and from whom to choose our fall class. For the January term, we had about 500 applications for about 100 students, who are arriving on campus on January the 2nd. I hope that answered your question, Simmy. If I did not, about how to put all that together and send to us, then feel free to ask me another question. Okay, let me scroll through here. Odysseus and Simmy. Okay, Odysseus asked this question about a business school in Paris. Okay, if it's difficult finding a person to recommend, do your recommendation, you could always go back to your secondary school and ask someone there who knows you well to write your recommendation there. But the academic recommendation is really important to us. If you can't get your school director to write it, then maybe get your English teacher to write it. And they can send it directly to us through the Common App, or they can just type it up and hand it to you in a sealed envelope and you can send it to us. I know it's sometimes difficult to find people to write recommendation letters, but we really need someone who knows you as a student, know how you performed in class, as well as someone on the outside who knows you as in a non-student situation. Could be an employer, could be a pastor, could be a coach, could be someone who's a family friend. We want to get two different aspects of you, one from inside the class and another one from outside of the class. You've got another month to get that done, Simmy. I know it's tough in different educational systems around the world, but I encourage you to continue working on that. Here's another question about life outside of the classroom here in Malibu. Because we're located, let me switch back to a previous picture that shows our campus. Because we're located about 20 minutes away from Los Angeles, we tend to have a lot of social activities on campus. And because we're a residential campus and have many of our students living on campus, our residential life community sponsors a number of activities. Sometimes there are competitions between the various dorms, kind of like Harry Potter, and we call it the House Cup that's given every year for the different residence halls that is the most involved on campus. Our student activities office does a lot of programming of activities. We even have a person from student activities who does weekend programming, and that person has a budget and gives money to different clubs and organizations so that they can sponsor activities. You can see on this picture here our track and our soccer pitch and our baseball field, and the pool is down here. One activity we've done in the past is called intertube water polo, so people that maybe not be as strong as some of the Eastern Europeans in water polo, they get to play polo by having an inner tube, and that's kind of fun. My office sponsors a soccer tournament that is a way for international students to get to meet other American students. We've done that for about 12 years now. We call it KICK, K-I-C-K, and it stands for Keeping Internationals Connected and Kicking. And unfortunately for us, no international soccer team has ever won. We've had international students on the winning team, but it always seems to be a mix, which is a good thing, of international students and American students, or it's an all-American team that has won. So if you're a great soccer player, I hope that you come and be with us, and maybe you can organize an all-international team that might win the KICK trophy in some year. Okay, I'm scrolling through. Let's see. Another question is about class size. I mentioned that our average class size is 19. So you may have some classes that are really popular, like about 40 or 45, like an econ class or a psychology class or an advertising class if it's a really popular major. Other classes maybe as small as 5 or 6, like a French literature class or something like that, but it all averages out to be 19. We have 2 or 3 large lecture classes, like the humanities sequence would be a large lecture class, or maybe one of the religion classes. You don't have to choose those. You can choose the smaller ones if you'd like. But we think people learn best when you have smaller classes. We use adjunct teachers. Most of those adjunct teachers, what adjunct means is it's someone who's not a full-time teacher. Like I serve as an adjunct teacher. I teach 1 class per year, but my full-time job is doing this. It's working with international students. And so many of our administrators and staff members from residential life and from other areas of the university serve as adjunct teachers, so we'll teach 1 class, but obviously we know Pepperdine pretty well. And we'll also use some adjunct teachers from the entertainment business to come out and teach some of our media and entertainment and film studies classes. But most of your classes will be done by the full-time faculty. And we believe in having faculty, both adjunct and full-time, who really know how to teach. We consider ourselves a teaching university. So 50% of the formula that we use for promoting our faculty is student evaluations. So at the end of every class that is offered here at Pepperdine University, all the students in that class are encouraged, and we try to get 100% participation. Go online and you complete a teacher evaluation, which is about a 13 question survey, and then the deans use the results of that survey to determine if that faculty member should go to the next level, which is a salary increase for them. And that's a pretty high percentage, 50%. So because we consider you to be the consumer of this service, we really want the student evaluations, and the student evaluations are used by the department chairs and the dean for promotion services. And if a person, faculty member, does not get good teacher evaluations, they're encouraged to teach elsewhere. I'll give one example. There was a very, very wonderful man here who taught math for us. He was a Princeton grad. In fact, he was a student of that guy that Ron Howard made the movie of, called Beautiful Mind. You know, it was about that guy that was a Nobel Prize winner, but he had trouble just, you know, dealing with people. So he was a brilliant person, but had some psychological problems. Well, this student was a student of his, and again, he was brilliant himself, but he was better with graduate students than he was with undergrad. And so we were having him teach undergraduate classes, and it just didn't work out. And so even though he was a nice man and was a very bright guy, it didn't work out with Pepperdine. And so he was asked to go teach someone else. And he's now teaching grad students at another university, which is more appropriate for him. And so that happens throughout the university. That's called tenure. And if you're not good in the classroom, then you do not receive tenure. Okay, let's see. Sorrel asks this question. Theater, it's a theater question. Do acting students get exposure? How good is drama? Okay. Let me tell you about the musical that we just completed last week. We did Les Mis. We're one of the first universities or colleges to get the rights to do Les Mis. We've been requesting it for about 10 years, and we finally got the rights to it, and we just did the production and finished a 2-week run last week. I was able to see it on closing night. I've seen Les Mis 3 times, once in London and twice in Los Angeles, and this production, I kid you not, was as good as any of the professional productions. The way our music department helped every single person on stage to prepare their lines, even the people who just sang one line, did it beautifully, and it was a fabulous production. Um, so we've done Sweeney Todd here, we've done Oklahoma, we've done Music Man, you know, we've done Sound of Music, we've done all the big musicals. So we're really good at musical theater. People from all over Los Angeles come uh, to see our musicals. Uh, I'll give you the example of one person who was a theater major and decided she wanted to try dance on Broadway. So as soon as she graduated, she flew to New York and started going to auditions. In the first week, she was cast for a 2-year run of 42nd Street. When that was over, she decided to try out for the Rockettes, and then she signed on for 2 years with the Rockettes for the touring group that goes around the country. So she had a 4-year career. She's now in Texas teaching, but she did get exposure here. Many of the students have an agent by the time they graduate, and so our theater program for a small school of only 3,200 students is really primo. Let me see if I can get another picture here. If you're looking at the picture with what says about the fall deadline, the theater building is the one on the left-hand side with the big slant coming up here. It's a 450-seat theater. We also have a black box theater. We also have a rehearsal theater that the students use for their own plays that they write as theater majors, and it seats about 20 students. It's called the mini theater. So there are great opportunities for you as a theater major, either in the production side, and we have scholarships for production as well as for acting, and so you'll get a lot of opportunities here. Let me see if I've answered all your questions, Sorrel. We have some students on the production side, you know, who get really involved in the costumes or the lighting. So we have our own student productions. We also have professional productions that come through and use our theaters. So our theater is busy all year round. Right now at the Christmas season, there are local community groups who use our theater for production of the Nutcracker. Some of them are children's groups and some of them are professional groups that come through. And so I like the fact that I live on campus and I can participate in both the theater productions that are student productions, but also in the professional ones that come through. I hope I've answered your question there, Sorrel. If you have other ones about theater, please feel free to ask those. Let me tell you a quick story about Music Man that we produced a number of years ago. I happened to come to the production, and during intermission there was an older couple sitting in front of me. I didn't know who they were, and so the man got up and walked out, but the woman was left there. So I started talking to her, and I asked her what she thought of the production, because the theater director was a friend of mine, and she was kind of had a squeaky older voice, and she said, "Well, Wilson tells me it's the best amateur production he's ever seen of his musical." And I went, "Oh my goodness, this is Meredith Wilson's wife, and he's the one who composed Music Man, and he had come out to see our production of it because he lived in LA. So even the guy who wrote Music Man thought that we did a good job. So if you're interested in plays or in theater, a small venue like this is a good place to come. My daughter was a music major, and she was going to go to a larger university, chose to come to Pepperdine because she knew she'd have more roles, because there'd be fewer people competing for the roles. So she had the leading role in the opera one year, and she had the leading role in Songfest, which is another student production that we do that goes a whole week long. So it was a good decision for her to come to a smaller school. For dance majors, they participate in a program called Dance in Flight. We bring a professional choreographer from Hollywood out, and he works with the students for 6 months. They audition in September for a show in March. and then they recruit students to dance with them, and they rehearse for 6 months, and they sell out 6 performances. And so it might be hip hop, and would be one scene. The next scene might be Irish. The next scene might be Indian. The next scene might be ballet. Next scene might be tap. So students get to, even though we don't have a dance major, you can perform in dance in the musical as well as in dance in flight. So you get 2 opportunities per year to be on stage for 5 or 6 performances. All right, let me see about some of these others. And if you have a question, if you're tuning in and you want to write in and ask a question, please feel free to do so. It's 6:42 here, so we'll be on air for another hour and 15 minutes. So please feel free to write in. Question here about the diversity of our campus. We are a very diverse campus. We have students from all 50 states geographically, and we have students from 70 countries around the world. Because we're on the Pacific Rim here close to Los Angeles, students from Asia are over 50% of our international student population are from Asia. We have 10% international students, and of that 10%, half are from Asia. So China, Korea, Taiwan, Indonesia, Thailand, India, the Philippines. 50% of our students come from there. The other 50% from the rest of the world. Canada is in our top 5. Mexico's in our top 10 because they're our 2 closest neighbors. We don't have quite as many students from Africa and from Eastern Europe and from South America. Those are our 3 weakest areas. So we'll have a handful of students from countries in those areas, but not as strong as we would from Asia. And that would be typical of all universities and colleges in the California area. Asia is very convenient for students because you can get here on one flight from most of the larger cities in Asia. But now there are more and more flights to the Middle East and to Europe that are direct flights to Los Angeles because it's such a big hub. Just this past 18 months ago, I had a direct flight to the Middle East to Dubai, and on the return flight I had a direct flight from Istanbul. So those of you who live in the Middle East, we have direct flights here. You can also get direct flights to Northern Europe and to Western Europe, Central Europe. So that's one of the great things about being next to Los Angeles is the convenience for flights all around the world. We're only 35 minutes away from Los Angeles International Airport. Excuse me while I take a sip. Let's see what else is here. Celine has asked a question. Let's see. Asking about the personal recommendation letter. Yes, we prefer an academic letter and a personal letter. If you live in a country where you haven't had the opportunity to work and you don't have much extracurricular activities, then we could take just 2 academic letters. When you're doing the Common App, then ask one of your teachers to do the teacher recommendation and ask another teacher to do the personal one. And maybe get the teacher who knows you best outside of class, like maybe participated in a club on campus with you, maybe he or she was your advisor. Get that person to do your personal recommendation. So we would prefer it be someone outside of the academic community, but if you can't find someone there, then just get 2 teachers to do it. How does that sound? You can even have your guidance counselor do the personal one. Another question from Sune. Opportunity for scholarships. Yes. We do have scholarships in 3 different areas. You can get them in the arts, so that would be theater and art and music. If you want to perform in our one of our ensembles, either voice or our instrument. I just went to the choral and orchestra festival last Thursday night, and it was fabulous. A number of the students there were on scholarship. We have athletic scholarships since we play Division I sports. We have scholarships in 15 different sports. So if you're an athlete, an elite athlete, and you're like on the junior national team or something, then you can be talking to our coaches and get scholarships that way. But more students than those get scholarships for academics. So if you're a high achiever with your grades and your SAT, your ACT scores, then you can get a scholarship from Pepperdine. Regent scholarship, a Dean scholarship, a Seaver scholarship, all of those are at different levels. I admitted 300 international students last year. 60 of them, or 20%, received an academic award from us. Those awards range between $15,000 and $38,000. It depends on your grades as we convert them to a 4-point scale, and your SAT or ACT scores. This year the cutoff was 1410 out of 1600 on the SAT and 32 out of 36 on the ACT, and then a 3.85 on a 4-point scale. So if you have both of those, if you have one but not the other, then you wouldn't be receiving an award. But if you have both of those, then you can receive an award from us. And obviously the higher the grades, the higher the score would be, the higher amount. The woman who got the $38,000 award had a perfect SAT score and perfect straight A's. She never made a B in high school. And so she and several other people in similar situation received $38,000 scholarship out of the $44,000 tuition. So we don't have full scholarships for academics, but we do give 75% awards if you have pretty high scores. So thank you, Sune or Sune. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm scrolling through other questions here. Make sure that I've answered them all. Okay, I answered that one. Okay, good, I answered that one. Here's one that many students ask, and that's about the college essay. I look at the college essay as the second most important thing in the application process. After your grades are the most important thing. We'd rather see how you've completed your career on a 3-year or 3.5-year evaluation rather than a 3.5-hour test on a Saturday morning. That's not as important to us as the grades that you have made from 9, 10, 11 and the first half of year 12. Then the second thing I look at is the essay. The essay should reveal something about you. In other words, your grades reveal about your potential, but your essay reveals something about you. How are you going to fit into our community, what your passions might be, how well you've faced adversity, how well you can take a point of view and make a legitimate argument about it. And so I would encourage you to look at the essay as a test. So take the questions that are listed there in the Common App and pick one that you think would be something that you could be passionate about writing to respond to that question. Then answer that question, and then, hey, good morning. Answer that question, and then put it away for about a week. and then come back and look at it and kind of pretend you're an editor and then revise it. And then after you have done that, then put it away for several more days, then come back and revise it again. Take about a month on that college essay, because it really is important, not just for Pepperdine, but for any school to which you are attending. And then after you finish it, show it to an adult who doesn't know you. And when you show that to them, then ask them to write down 2 things that they learned about you in that college essay. And if they're able to write down 2 things or tell you 2 things that they learned about you in that essay, then you've done a good job. So the key thing is to show me rather than tell me. Don't pick something like your most influential character and pick your grandfather and then just tell me all the wonderful things that your grandfather did. Well, I don't want you to just tell me about your grandfather. I want you to show me how your relationship with your grandfather changed your life. And so you use language that really shows me something about you. And if you can do that, then you'll have a good college essay. Don't stress over it a whole lot, but write in such a way that you're going to inspire me to say, I want that person on my campus. I want that person in the classroom with my friends who teach econ or psychology or business or math. Because you're going to be competing with a lot of other students. I think I mentioned earlier that we had 1,200 applications for 85 spots. So it's pretty competitive, and the number 2 thing I look at then is the essay. I look at grades first, then the essay, and then after that I look at your scores, your TOEFL, your SAT, ACT, IELTS. The next thing I look at after that would be your recommendations, and then the final thing I look at would be your extracurricular activities. It's kind of like 5 hoops that you need to jump through. Excuse me while I take another sip. Now the first hoop that you need to jump over would be the grades. You know, if you've got a C average in high school, you're not going to be competitive at a place like Seaver College at Pepperdine University. So in order, if you can get over that hoop, then I'm going to look at your essay. And if your writing is good, and I know that I'm not going to be embarrassed by putting you in our classrooms, then you've jumped over the second hoop. Then I look at your board scores, TOEFL, SAT, ACT. And if you jump through that hoop, then I look at your recommendations. So choose the people who are doing your recommendations well. Then if you jump through that hoop, I look at your extracurriculars. Have you been involved outside of the classroom? You jump through that hoop, then it's an easy decision, I can admit you. And other schools may have a different formula. They may look at your SAT first, because maybe they're a large state school. We tend to look at your grades first. Some people look at your predicted IB scores and put all the weight on that. I know the UK schools do that. We do not. That's only one part of the formula. We see your IB grades as just 1/7 of the formula. So I want to see 9, 10, 11, and then your IB grades. Okay? Here's a question about the SAT. It's someone who's at a community college. If you have 30 transferable units from a community college, I don't need your SAT or ACT anymore. That's just a test for high school kids. So if you have good grades at your community college, that's the primary thing. So I'll look at grades and I'll look at writing. And if you've completed English 1 or English 101, you know, that freshman composition class, then I don't need a TOEFL either. So if you've already completed 1 year of college or university work, that's the best predictor. We're looking at success here. And the best predictors of college success are your grades, both high school and university. So if your university or college grades are good, then just send that to me, and we'll be able to make a decision. And since this person, Celine, you've already completed 51 semester credits, you could come for a January term. Our January admission is already complete. You couldn't come for this particular January, but you could apply for the fall. We allow 64 units in transfer. So if you've completed 51 and you've got another semester there, so you could take courses that will satisfy our general studies requirement, and we'll transfer up to 64 of those. If you have a particular question about your transcript, what courses will transfer and what courses will not, then you can write me. I'll give you all my email address. It's rich.dawson@pepperdine.edu. So that's rich.dawson at Pepperdine, pepperdine.edu. I spend about 3 to 4 hours a day doing email from potential students, current students, alumni, counselors, teachers, parents. Anyone has a question about Pepperdine, I think it's important to answer that within 24 hours if I'm in town. So feel free to send your questions to me, and I would be happy to answer them. Okay, does that help, Celine? If you'll tell me which particular college that you're attending, Celine, I can send you a link to our transfer agreement if we have one with that college, and then you can see which courses that maybe you can take next semester that would satisfy our general studies requirements. Here's a question about SAT 2. We do not require the SAT 2. Other schools might do so. I know the University of California is looking at the SAT 2. Some of the smaller liberal arts colleges like Middlebury and Williams might want the SAT 2, but we do not. It's the SAT 1. And then we don't look at the essay either on the SAT 1. We think the essay on the SAT 1 was a bad decision to move that up to the SAT 1. We think it just puts more pressure on students. And how can you write a good essay in 25 minutes? We just think it was a bad decision. Only about 200 universities and colleges in the United States are looking at the SAT writing test. So we just look at the critical reading and the math. But other schools to which you might be applying might be looking at the writing. So my advice to you is to write write a nice, long, well-written essay. Those essays tend to get the better grades by those who read them. Thank you for that question. Okay, here's a question from Celine. Celine has a sibling who's already a Pepperdine student. Will that increase chances? Yes, it does. That's called legacy. If you have a parent or an aunt or an uncle or a sibling who's a current student, then yes, we like admitting people who already have a connection to the university, and many schools would do the same. Will it get you in if you have bad grades? No. And you still have to perform well at your particular institution, but it does get you extra consideration because we like having a longer relationship with the family. So please be sure you put that on your application. On the application, it usually it has a question there about if you have any relatives who are current or former students. Thank you. Okay, asking about doing the SAT again January 25th. Yes, be sure you put Pepperdine's code number on there, which is 4630 when you take the SAT or the TOEFL, and then those scores would come to us directly by computer link from the College Board or from ETS. And if you take it on January the 25th, it'll still get to us by February 10th or so. So there's still time for the January 25th test of the SAT to arrive here. We start reading files immediately after the Christmas break, so January 10th or so, I'll be reading files. I've already started calculating GPAs. It's a two-step process. Once your transcript arrives here, we calculate and convert your system to the US system. And so we'll be calculating GPAs, and then once the we have enough files that are complete, then they'll send that list to us and we'll begin reading. And then we'll continue calculating GPAs and reading files until we've completed all of them. If you are admitted to your another school, either by early decision or early action, we would hope that you would write us and tell us, hey, you don't need to consider me anymore because I'm going to another school. That'll save us having to complete your files. So you'll save us a little bit of time. So if you applied early and you are admitted, then be sure you notify all your other schools. Okay. Pepperdine only has one admission. It's called regular decision. We used to do early admission, but we stopped that several years ago just because it was too much grief for all the people who were not admitted. So we only have one decision period now, and that's January the 5th. So if you're considering Pepperdine, be sure you get all your transcripts and everything else into us by the 5th of January. All right. Another question. We do not require interviews. If you happen to be in the LA area and you want to come out and meet us and get your questions answered, we will do an interview, but it's not required. With 10,500 applications from all around the world, it's just too difficult that, and we didn't want it to be an unfair advantage for those who interviewed over those who do not. So an interview is not required. But we do what was called info sessions on campus here. And if you'd like to come to an info sessions and also meet with us and get your questions answered about your particular educational system, credentials evaluation, immigration issues, things like that, please stop by and see us. We'd be happy to answer those. There are 2 people in my office who do admission, 2 people who do immigration, and 1 person is our office manager who supervises our student workers who process all the data. So the 2 of us who do admissions, even though it's reading season between January and March, we'd be happy to meet you if you have a week off and you can travel to Los Angeles and come and see the campus. I would encourage you to visit all the campuses to which you're applying, if that's a possibility, just so you can get a feel for the place, how the students, are acting on campus, maybe eat in the cafeteria. If you have that opportunity, I encourage you to do so. If not, then I encourage you to do a virtual visit. Many of our universities have cameras that are running 24/7, and you can do a virtual tour to see if maybe that place is the right one for you. Okay? And there's another question about SAT-2. We do not require SAT-2, but some other schools do. Average SAT score, question from Sunai again. The average SAT score for international students this year was 1280 out of 1600, and that was the exact same score for the Americans. They also had a 1280 score. Just critical reading and math. Again, we don't look at the writing test. Question about competitive nature of the pool. Is it more competitive as an international or an American? It's about the same. In the past, we had not that many applications, maybe 300 applications for just 50, 60, or 70 spots. But now, because Pepperdine has become more popular as we've been traveling and have gone to a lot of your schools around the world, I probably visited 300 secondary schools around the world, and my colleague Virginia has probably visited around 200 of them. So we're very familiar with the different educational systems. I've been to 72 countries, she's been to 60. So we like visiting with the counselors, we like meeting students and their parents overseas. And because we've become more popular, we receive more applications, and yes, it is competitive. It's not necessarily more competitive for an international student than a domestic student. Both Americans and international, this year we admitted 30%. So we received 10,500 applications, we admitted 3,000 of them. And of that 3,000, then 900 came this fall for new student orientation. That number changes every year, up or down just a little bit. Sometimes it's around 25%, sometimes it's 33% of the number of students that we admit out of the pool. But if you're a good student, we want to admit you. We don't have quotas for any countries. We don't have quotas for any school. If I receive 10 applications from one school, I could admit all 10 of them. Or I could admit none of them. You know, it all depends on your grades, you know, and how well you write. Well, it's a little bit after 7 o'clock now. You can see over my shoulder here, I've got a window that looks out onto the Pacific Ocean. So that's the Pacific Ocean right there, where we are located here. And I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to scroll through the various scenes. This is the Pacific Ocean down here, if you're looking at this photo. And then we're on the bluffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean up here. So if you can see my pointer here, I'm in this building right here. And that's the window right there that's looking out this direction over the Pacific Ocean. By being located here, it moderates the extremes in temperatures. You may have seen from weather reports that we're suffering from a big cold spell now all over the United States. There's some Arctic air that has come down into Canada and into the United States, and many of my colleagues around the country are freezing. But because we're located by the Pacific Ocean here, it moderates those extremes. Just 10 minutes east and north of us, over in the San Fernando Valley, it's about 20 degrees colder than it is here and in the winter time. And sometimes it's only 5 degrees, sometimes it's only 10 degrees. And in the summertime, just the opposite is true. It'd be really hot. It could be 110 degrees over here, and it might only be 85 here, and that's Fahrenheit. The average temperature Celsius year-round is about 21 or 22 degrees on our campus here. And in the nighttime, because it's a desert environment, in the nighttime it gets a little bit cooler, and then in the daytime it warms up. But we only receive about 10 days of rain per year and about 10 days of hot. The Santa Ana condition, where the hot air comes off the desert and blows toward Los Angeles. But what that means is 345 days a year you can be out doing things. So we have a very active community. There are hiking trails around these mountains behind us. Here's where I live here, right up here on the right-hand side, these condominiums that are for faculty, staff, and there's some more condominiums over on the left side of this picture. So we have 102 units on campus for faculty, and there are hiking trails back behind our units, and students often go hiking here in the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. This is called the Backbone Trail that goes along the top of these mountains. And then this green belt down in front of the campus is where a lot of club sports are done, like lacrosse. Sometimes we have a field hockey team, men's soccer, other places, other sports like that come down here and have their weekend competitions against other universities here. Our golf team practices 2 days a week here. We have 2 golf holes that shoot across some lakes that we have on this in this area, and they practice 2 days a week here, and then 3 days they go through Malibu Canyon to their golf practice areas. So it's a very safe environment. Malibu is just a resident community, and it's gated, so there are 2 entrances to the campus, and so everybody has to identify themselves when they come on the campus, but that makes for a nice, safe place. The track, which I showed you earlier, the track and the let me find that picture. Here we go. The track and the baseball field. I mean, there are people walking on that track up till 2 and 3 in the morning, and then starting again at 5 in the morning, because it's a very active community. Even in the dark, you know, it's well lit, and so it's a very safe community. Our public safety office also gives free escort service. If you are late in the library and want to get back to your dorm, they'd be happy to walk you back. It's not really necessary because of our community is a safe community, but it is a feature that is open to you. Let's see if there's some other questions now. Yarat has asked, oh, that was the competition question. Now he's asked another question about math. And we do have math. We also have computer science as a major, so you can do math, or you can do math with a combination with computer science. Students who do this major go on to PhDs. In fact, one student was a math major here and went to the East Coast, got his PhD, and now we've hired him back, and he's a first year faculty member right now. And so he's preparing his exam. We're in exam week this week, and so this young man, Matthew Highfield, has had to prepare his first exams as a full-time professor. But yes, we do have math as a major. Math is required for some of our other majors. If you're an econ major, you have to take a calculus class. Obviously, if you're a science major, you have to take calculus. If you're a business major, you have to take calculus. So math is a good foundation for other majors, including business and econ and our science majors. And we're pretty successful at getting math majors into graduate school so they can pursue their studies and possibly become a faculty member someday. So good question, Kamira. Next question is transportation. How about getting into the city? The local bus system is called the Metropolitan Transit District, and it goes all over Los Angeles and Orange County, and it stops twice on our campus. If you're looking at this picture here with the track, the one place it stops is down here on the right, and the next place it stops is over on the back side on the left. The buses start around 6 in the morning and go to around midnight, and they go into Santa Monica, which is our nearest neighbor, just 12 miles away, well, more like 14 miles away. That's about 20 kilometers. And there you can change buses and go all over. And it comes by about every half hour, and students take that bus. We also have shuttles that go around campus. Let's see if I can get a different picture that might show there. This is looking from out of the ocean. The shuttles, there's a loop that goes around the campus this way, and then goes around the campus this way, and Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. till about 10 p.m. The shuttles come every 10 minutes. And so if you're living in the residence community up on the top left here, and you want to get back down onto the main part of the campus, there's a shuttle that comes every 10 minutes. On weekends, that shuttle also goes down into the city of Malibu, where we have a movie theater and a drugstore and boutique shops and things like that. There's also a beach down there that you could go to, and the shuttle goes down into Malibu about 4 times on Saturday and 4 times on Sunday. So if you don't have a car, don't worry about it. 75% of our students have cars, and so there'll be somebody in your suite of 8 students who will have a car, and kids just pile in with their friends and ride that way, or you can take the public transportation. I didn't have a car when I was an undergraduate student, so I just dated girls who had cars, to be quite honest. And then I finally got a car when we got married. I married my wife, and she had a car, and that was a great thing. We used that for 2 years until we bought our own car. Our first purchase wasn't until we were 23 years old. So you can get around without a car. It's not as convenient, but you can do it. As you can see, this road on this picture here, Pacific Coast Highway, goes right along here, and it goes right into Los Angeles. First to Santa Monica, and then to Los Angeles. I'll scroll through some other pictures here. This is a typical dorm. 2 students live here. You can see they've stacked their bunk beds up, and then one of those students is studying with a friend here. So there are 2 beds, 2 chests of drawers, 2 desks, 2 closets in each residential community, and then a bathroom which has 2 toilets, 2 sinks, 2 showers, is shared by the 8 students in that room. That shows our deadline. This shows our study abroad. Some of our students from Buenos Aires went up to Machu Picchu for their field trip. This shows our service opportunities. We play Division I sports, and this shows some science students doing an experiment. This is the view toward Santa Monica. All right, let's look at some other questions. This student asks, how will applicants know about the outcome of admission? January 5th is our deadline, and then we spend the next couple of months reading. We put all of our decisions into the computer, and then we send out via email our decisions on the 18th. I think it's the 18th or the 16th of March. We want them to be in your hands by April the 1st so that you can compare our offer to the offer that you might have received from other universities. We also then send it via Courier. If you're overseas, we send it via UPS about 4 or 5 days after the electronic notification goes out. Usually goes out at 5 o'clock on Friday, around the 15th to the 18th of March. I'm looking at my calendar here. Yeah, so it'll 1st, 8th, 15th, 18th of March, somewhere around there is when our decisions will go out electronically, and all 3 decisions or all 4 decisions will go out at the same time. So if you're admit, if you're deny, if you're a wait list or a spring defer, you'll get those at 5 o'clock on that Friday. Spring defer means we did not have enough space for you in our fall class, but we offer you January admission. And so what you would do if you agreed to that is you would still send the same response to us saying, yes, I'm planning to come and I'll be there in January. We received about 59 enrollment confirmations from students last March who then are to be here this coming January. So that's a good option for some people. And you can, one kid that I did that to decided to go and study Spanish in Ecuador, did that for 6 months before coming for the fall. Other students do volunteer work, others go to a community college first before coming here, and others work in their family business just to get some experience before coming. So if you're a spring defer admit, you can use that opportunity to get prepared for the January term. If you receive a scholarship, then you will receive that scholarship notification within a week after the regular admission decision, and those will go out electronically as well. Um, if you don't hear from us on that Friday, the 15th or 18th, somewhere around there, then I would encourage you to check your spam folder and your junk mail, because sometimes those notifications will end up in there. So be sure that you check those around that time of year. Okay, here's a question about the finance statement. As an international student coming on the student visa, that's the F1 visa, we are required as officers to certify your financial ability. And so we have this form that we call the ISD, International Student Data form, and you'll receive a link to that if you're admitted, and then you'll just print screen it and complete it, have your parents sign it, and then take it to the bank and get the bank to do a letter or to stamp that form there stating that you have the funds necessary to complete 1 year of study. And you can send that to us by fax or by attachment, or you can mail it to us. We don't need that by the time of admission, but it's always helpful to have it here. It could come in after you admitted. It's just we can't send you the form called the I-20, which is what you'll use to get your visa. We can't send that to you until we have that finance statement. So it's always good to go ahead and send it to us just in case you're admitted, and then we have all the documentation we need, and then we can send the I-20 to you. Then at the same time we send the admission letter, which is great because then you've got everything you need to get your visa. We'll even send you a couple of pages of instructions on how to best present yourself to the visa officer. So good question. Yes, please complete that ISD, International Student Data form, as early as possible. Here's a question about driving in California. As you know, in California, we're pretty addicted to our cars. I know some families who would drive an hour and a half to a restaurant they really like, have dinner for 2 hours, and drive back just in one evening, which seems crazy to those of you who come from big cities where you have good public transportation. But we're addicted to the cars here. 75% of our students have cars. If you want to drive in California, you'll need to get a California driver license. So you may still keep your international license for when you return home, but the state of California does require that if you're going to have a vehicle here in California, you'll need to get a U.S. driver license. And so for the state of California, you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and get that license. They do give licenses to international students as long as you're 18 years old. And we'll give you during orientation or right after orientation the different offices of the motor vehicle department so that you can go and do your written test and then your driving test so that you can have a California license. I think it's 45 days. If you're going to drive in California, you need to get a California driver license within 45 days. Haya has asked this question. Minimum cumulative GPA for Pepperdine. We recalculate every GPA. So I knock out art, music, PE, keyboarding, health classes, anything that's not considered academic. I cross those off and then I calculate your GPA. I'll convert your system to the U.S. system, and then the minimum I took, the average this year was 3.7. The minimum I took was a 3.3 for the fall of 2013. The minimum that you need to have for the committee to look at your file is a 2.7. on a 4-point scale, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't admit any 2.7s for this fall. So the higher the GPA you have, the better the chance you have. So please send in your transcripts for all 4 years of high school, or all, and if you're a college student, both your final transcript from high school and your college transcripts. If you attended more than one institution, then send me more than one. Then again, we recalculate it, we come up with your cum GPA, and if it's a 3.3 or above, you got a good chance, both high school and college. The average college GPA is 3.6 for transfer, and the average high school GPA was a 3.7. Hope that answers your question. Here's a question about dorm life. Princeton Review has said that our dorms are the best dorms in America. They've done that twice. We built them in different stages. The first ones we built in 1972, and then we gradually added more and more as the college and the university have grown. And so now we have some single units for our junior and senior students. So when you become a junior or a senior, you can apply for an apartment, and they're very, very nice. I've had my family stay in them when they've come to visit during the summers. And they're 4 single rooms, and then you share a living room and a kitchen and a bathroom. For the first and second year students, there's 2 per room, and you eat in the cafeteria, which you can see from this picture here is the last building on the right. So you just have about a 5 to 7 minute walk from any of our resident communities down to the cafeteria. First and second year students would eat there. Junior and senior students can live in apartments, or you can live in the first and second year community. The first year students, 8 students share a bathroom that has 2 toilets, 2 sinks, 2 showers. And then second year students can live in another residence community where it's only 4 people sharing a bathroom. So I like that one in particular because it's just a bathroom in between 2 dorm rooms. So 2 kids on each side then would use that facility. And then for an apartment, depending on which one you got, it would be either 4 students sharing a bathroom with single rooms, or 4 students sharing a bathroom, being 2 per room. Obviously, the most reasonable ones, cost-wise, are the ones where it's 2 per room. The single rooms have an additional charge just because you're taking up more space just as one person. Hope that helps. And yes, we do guarantee it for 2 years, and then it's optional for years 3 and 4. But international students have priority for years 3 and 4 because you don't have a car usually. And if you don't have a car, it's kind of tough to live off campus, right? So you can be on campus all 4 years. Oh, here's a student who's up in New Hampshire asking about a PG year. This is a post-grad year. Yes, that's okay. We do want to see those grades, so send me all 5 years. Grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then also send me the grades from your PG year so that I can compare that to what you did in your first 4 years. I'm going to go get some more hot water since I've got these allergies that are affecting me today. I'll be back in about 15 seconds. Okay? Just a minute. Okay, I am back. Let's see if I've answered all the questions from the people who have who've written in. Well, so I'm going to scroll through here. Okay, I've done that one. Okay, very good. Okay, we talked about theater, a personal recommendation. SAT is a transfer, right? We don't need the SAT. We talked about scholarships. We have scholarships in 3 different areas. Here are some other ways you can pay for your education. As students work, we have 15 student workers just in my office, and every office on campus has student workers. We couldn't exist if we didn't have student interns, and they do everything for us, from interviewing students to helping them fill out their immigration paperwork, to inputting data. In every office on campus, from the theater to the museum to the athletic facilities to public safety to the library to the cafeteria to the bookstore, hires students. And you can earn $5,000 to $6,000 a year if you work during every break, and also during the year and during the summer. That won't pay for your whole education, since education is more like $56,000 for room, board, and tuition. But it can take care of a portion of it. Also, international students are allowed by the U.S. government to get loans. You'll just have to have a U.S. cosigner. What that means is, what my kids did, I co-signed loans for them when they attended Pepperdine. And the bank would loan the money for the tuition, or a portion of that tuition, to you. Your U.S. cosigner would co-sign that loan, and that means that if for some reason you skipped out and stopped paying on your loan, then whoever your cosigner is will be responsible for that loan. Thankfully, all the loans that I co-signed for my children, both for their cars and for their room and board payments, they're all paid off. I'm not responsible for any of those loans anymore, so that's a very happy thing for me. But about 70% of students in the United States help pay for their education through loans. They figure it's an investment in the future. So you are allowed as an international student to do loans. You just have to find someone who's resident to the United States who's willing to do that for you. Okay, I answered that one, Okay, I answered that one. Sorry, I'm going so slowly here. I'm just answered the transportation one. Okay, I answered the data forum. All right, here are 2 more questions. About deferred. There's a question about undocumented and about deferred action. Yes, we do admit undocumented students. An undocumented student, for those of you who are unfamiliar with that term, is someone who has come to the United States but does not have a student visa. And so we admit you based on your performance at secondary school. So if you're a good student, you made good grades, and you have a good SAT or ACT, we'll admit you. Now, how you're going to pay for your education is still the tough thing. You know, you are eligible for scholarships. So we had an undocumented student who played on our soccer team, and she was able to get a scholarship. She was a great soccer player, a good goalie, and so she got a full ride scholarship, even though she did not have the right kind of visa. And so admission is no problem. Paying for the education would be a problem, but you are eligible for scholarships. The second question is about deferred action. If you're a student and you're admitted, but you want to defer your enrollment for a year, you can request that. It's not always guaranteed. We do always guarantee it for military purposes, like if you're having to serve either in the U.S. military or the military of your home country. We know that many times that's a required thing, so we will give you deferred admission. Deferred admission, just because you want to work or do a gap year or something, you'd have to fill out the application again. But if you've been admitted once, there's a 99% possibility you will be admitted again. But the military students don't have to fill out the paperwork again. And even if you're deferring for personal reasons, you have to fill out the application again, but you don't have to do the recommendations, SAT, transcripts, all that is already in our system. So it's somewhat convenient in that respect. I hope that's what you meant by deferred action, Mario. We send the application results. I think I answered that one. We sent it out in mid-March so that you have it by April 1st. Here's a question about in-state versus out-of-state. It's about 50-50. I think it's 47-48% of our students are California. All the rest of the students come from all 50 states and 70 countries. So there's a little bit more than 50% come from outside of California. About 25% of our students are from Southern California. 25% are from Northern California, which is 4 to 8 hours away driving time, or 1 hour away if you're flying to Northern California. So there's a nice mix on campus. You may be the only kid from your high school here, or there may be one or two others from your high school here. So it's definitely a new chapter in your life. Do we consider in-state versus out-of-state? No, it doesn't matter to us. Since we're a private school, there's no change in tuition rate, so all students pay the same rate. All students are eligible for merit scholarships, so it's pretty equitable in that respect. Obviously, if you're coming from Montana or North Dakota, where we don't get that many applications, and we do receive an application from you, we're going to go, oh wow, here's a kid from North Dakota, and just emotionally, you'd have our attention. How does that sound? Or if you're coming from a country where we have no students from that country, like say you're applying from Latvia or Lithuania and we don't have any Latvian students, obviously we're going to say, oh, here's a Latvian student. So if you have good grades and good TOEFL score, then we're going to be very motivated to admit you, just so we can have a student from another country where we do not have students. Does that make sense? But everybody pays the same tuition. Here's a question about Thai students. We have about 10 Thai students here, undergrads right now, so it's a nice group. They're not as large as China and Korea, that have larger populations here, but we have some nice relationships with our Thai students. Some have played on our athletic teams, specifically women's tennis, and then some have been scholars. One year, a student from Ramrudi International School was our salutatorian at graduation. What that means is only one person had a higher GPA than he did at the time of graduation, so he got a big medal, and was honored at graduation. So yeah, we love having our Thai students. Kapun Krab, if you apply, and I hope that you do. Kamyarat. Here's a question. One thing that is best. Oh, that's a tough question. I guess the friendliness on campus. When you're walking across campus, students, faculty, and staff tend to greet you and to say hello. It's a very friendly environment, even though we have 3,000 undergraduate students, which is kind of a medium-sized university in the United States. It's a very friendly environment. Our faculty, because we have 102 condominiums on campus, they invite students into their home. In fact, we're required to do so if we teach a class. Required to bring the students up to our home for some kind of activity or for a meal. We might do it at breakfast, or we might do it in the evening. And we're trying to create an Oxbridge type environment here, where the faculty are living in close proximity to the students, and the students, if they're having a problem, they can quickly contact the faculty members. We do have peer advisors in each one of the dorms, junior and senior students who are advisors to the younger students. But we also believe that our faculty should be serving in the mentor role as well. So, and we're encouraged by the dean to build those kind of relationships. So I'd say the number one thing about the campus is just the feel of it, that it's a friendly environment, it's an academic environment, it's an encouraging environment, it's an active environment. People are always outside doing things because our weather is so good. The international office, I'm a little bit biased here, right? But the international office is a good thing. We provide great service. We help you fill out your tax forms. You have to do that each year as a requirement of the U.S. government. Obviously, we do all the, send you notices when there are changes in the regulatory environment. The student visa is a great visa to have because it lets you work on campus, but also there are some things you have to do to bureaucratically to satisfy their requirements, and our office is here to help you with that. Not every university does that, but we do it because we really believe in the personal touch. So whether it's our office or an academic office or housing office or some other office working with you, we try to treat each person especially one-on-one. The third thing I might say would be our faculty. Our faculty really are amazing. Just they're such fine teachers, and the honors that they get for teaching are phenomenal. One of our biology professors, he's a botanist. He got the Cherry Award 2 years ago. The Cherry Award is an award that goes to basically it's a teacher of the year. Faculty members are nominated by their former students, and he was nominated by his because so many of his students now are PhD professors themselves, and they all nominated him, and he got this award. So that's kind of nice that one of Seaver College's faculty members is considered to be the best in America. And it was a competitive thing. It got down to 3 professors, and he had to go and speak at Baylor University so that the faculty there could listen to him and make a decision as to what he and the other finalists, which one really was the teacher of the year. So it was quite an honor that he got that, and he's not alone. The other faculty as well are really honored. So the friendliness of the campus, the safety of the campus, the strength of the faculty, I think are probably 3 of the top things that says why Pepperdine is best. Minimum TOEFL scores for undergraduate admission. Our minimum score is 80, but the average is 100. So the maximum score you can get is 120. I've never seen 120, but I've seen 119s and 117s. But the minimum is 80. But it's realistic, though. If you've got a 90, you've got a lot better chance of getting admitted. So I hope that answers that question for you, Hyun. Here's a question about the minimum TOEFL score for undergraduate. Yeah, that's 80. Sorrel asked if we've had any Sri Lankan students. Yes, we have. In fact, 2 of them were interns in our office. One of them was president of the International Club. This is several years ago. Both of them have gotten married as they've gone home, and of course they sent us invitations to the wedding, and we couldn't go. But yes, we have had Sri Lankan students. And we give you advanced placement for your A-levels, and we also give you credit if you've gone to a university or a college, an accredited tertiary institution there in Sri Lanka. I hope that if you have a break that you and one of your relatives could get off and come and be with us so that you could see our campus. I've been to Sri Lanka 2 or 3 times myself, visiting secondary schools. Let's see if there are any others. Okay, we answered that one about the finance statement. We answered that one about dorm life, that the RAs and SLAs in the dorm sponsor activities, as well as the directors, the staff. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So if you have other questions, send those in to me. Maybe I'll scroll through the slides again. Our colors are blue and orange, so a lot of times we'll plant blue and orange flowers on the campus, especially just before the graduation season in late April and early May. So that's why you're seeing these orange marigolds that are planted down in our alumni park area, that green belt in front of the campus. We like the choices of orange and blue. They were selected by the students back in 1937 in the first year of the campus. Orange was selected because of all the orange groves that existed in Southern California at the time. Many of them have been taken out for housing now. And blue was selected for the Pacific Ocean. Even though the original campus was 6 miles away from the water, they thought it was really cool to have the water that close. And now, 40 years later, we end up in Malibu, where we've got an ocean view. So we think that's kind of cool that we selected blue a long time ago and for the water, and then we ended up being next to the water. And then now orange might be not just for the orange groves, but orange might be for the sunsets, as then we can look right out of our dorm windows and see the sunset. And a lot of times it's orange color. In fact, I took a picture the other day of one of the sunsets because it was all orange and blue, and it was really pretty. Next slide then shows our website information. It's seaver.pepperdine.edu/admission if you're interested in admission. And then there are our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest addresses. I'll leave that up for a few minutes as you're in case you want to write those down. The picture that you see at the top of this page is over from the west side of our campus, looking toward the east, toward Los Angeles. So those buildings that you see on the other side of the bay, that's either Santa Monica or West LA. So we're not that far away from entertainment. In fact, I tell students that there are so many things to do in California that you could go skiing in the morning. We're just 2.5 hours away from some really good snow up in the San Bernardino County mountains. So you could go skiing in the morning, come back and go surfing in the afternoon, and go to the Grammy Awards for music at night, if you so desired. I don't know anyone who's gotten tickets to the Grammys, but you could do that. It's that diverse of a community. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. I don't see other questions. I've already told you about how we read applications, grades, essay, then standardized test scores. Those are the top 3 things we look at. But we're looking at the whole person. Like if you have a sibling here, or if you've done some outstanding extracurricular activities. That's really important to us because we want you to be involved in social justice or other social issues once you're on campus. We don't want you just sitting in your room and studying the whole time. It's important to be a scholar, but it's also important that you have an impact on your community. And so we try to encourage you to do that while you're here. All right, it looks like I'm saying goodbye to some of the students who are taking off to go to class. It's about 5 minutes. Kamirat, good luck with your class. And if you have other questions, again, you can contact me at rich.dawson@pepperdine.edu. That's rich.dawson@pepperdine.edu. I'd be happy to answer your questions. Or you can always phone us at Pepperdine, and you can leave a message, and I'd be happy to call you back at a time that is convenient for you. I'm going to be here all next week, or all this week, and then we're taking a break for 2 weeks for the Christmas holidays, and I'll be back in the office on the 2nd of January. I look forward to meeting each of you if you decide to apply to Pepperdine, and if you decide to come for a visit. So I'll say goodbye to you for now and close. And thank you for participating. And I wish you all the best as you finish up this year, and I hope you make the grades that you've been preparing for. And I look forward to reading your application should you choose to apply to Pepperdine. Thank you.